guess I need to add myself to the stream here. Thank you, Suzette, for joining us. I didn't expect anybody really to join us this evening. Um, Go ahead and pop into the chat. Obviously, I don't know. The topic has changed for this evening, and it's no driving glove advice. I apologize for last night, the abrupt cancellation so late, or the rescheduling, but I learned something, or I was in the process of learning something last night. And between the long day I had, matter of fact, I just finished a podcast before, and in the 10-minute commute home, I started to learn of the news. And Eric was going to be with us last night, and we were going to chat about things. But it's kind of like these little things behind me say, time goes on, so whatever you're going to do it now. Don't wait. Time waits for no one. And a really good friend of mine passed away. And it's one of these things, we talk and we talk and we talk almost every week. Him and I are in communication. And then we take a break and we don't talk for months and months and months. And I talked to him a couple of times last fall, and there's a lot going on in my life last fall, and things kind of, we quit having our monthly breakfasts and things. And I reached out to him a couple of months ago, ironically, about the topic we were going to cover last night. It's kind of was the instigator 6 months ago for where that topic's coming from, where we talk about getting ripped off by mechanics. And we're going to get that. Fortunately, I was able to interview this acquaintance, and he was on the podcast. Just didn't get enough of the interviews in. And that's kind of what I'm saying is you got to do it. If there is any feasible way, and there usually always is, it's like the other thing that says next to me. These are quotes I found off memes supposedly attributed to Robert De Niro, which ironically, we were reviewing a Robert De Niro movie last night. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment and make it perfect. And I've always done that with my car stuff. Buying cars, etc. There's always cars that I want to have, and there's always price points I want them at. And people criticize me a lot. Don't ever take financial advice from me. But people criticize me a lot for how often I trade cars, or how often I go through cars quickly. One of these days we'll put a list up, or we'll go through the list of cars. Probably have, Derek ask me about the cars that I'm having or have had, and we'll talk about them. And just do it. I've always been the advantage. I've kind of been a dink most of my life, dual income, no kids, whether it be with a girlfriend or a wife, or, some sort of significant other. And, that's help. When you don't have kids, that really helps. I mean, don't go out and buy a Ferrari and feed your kids ramen noodles for the next 2 years. But if you want a Ferrari, do it. There's ways to figure it out and make it affordable. Everything is dependent on income, etc. But when you think about that, I have this little thing that sits on my desk. It's a little paperweight I bought years ago. I can't remember where I was at when I bought it. It might have been like the Lincoln Memorial or something. And I don't know who the quote's attributed to, but it's, what would you do? Well, geez, we'll just pick up this little paperweight, kind of show it on camera here. But what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? And that's the way I go into everything. You can't worry about failure. It's even like this show tonight. It's not really car related, but you can put this stuff to cars. If you want to go to an event, figure out how to make it a vacation. Figure out how to appease the others with you. Not everything comes easy, but tomorrow's not guaranteed. One of my favorite songs, and used to think it was a Van Hagar song, but I do believe it's a Van Halen song, is begins, I live my life like there's no tomorrow. All I've got, I had to steal. And, I don't have to beg or borrow. But you've got to, basically live your life that way. If you want a Corvette, buy a Corvette. It's, you might have to learn how to fix the thing. I mean, for the same price as a Honda Civic, you can get a couple-year-old Corvette. I mean, what are we talking? 25 grand for a Civic, 30 grand for a new Civic. You're talking 25,000 for a decent C5, C6, probably C6 Corvettes now. Yeah. They're going to have a little bit more maintenance and things like that. And you might have to work on them. You can still work on those cars. Years ago, you could have bought a Ferrari for 30 grand, or you could have bought a minivan for 30 grand. Now, I don't know if you're actually buying a minivan, I'm not sure Ferrari is going to work for you, but you can figure out, ways to do things and make things work. You just might have to sacrifice here or sacrifice there. I mean, maybe you have to give up all your streaming services. Maybe you don't contribute to our Patreon every month, which we do appreciate those of you that support us and find value in the podcast and things like that. But this gentleman, like I said, I kind of thought him as a mentor. He put me right a couple of times. Huge car guy. Wrote for various magazines. He knew everybody. And one of the last conversations we had was actually the interview. And afterwards, he goes, that was kind of fun. And then he liked the show. And he gave me a list. He goes, we need to get you in touch with, Lynn St. James. We need to get you in touch with Dave Despain. We need to get you in touch with Sam Posey. And, listed people that were in his phone that, I could call and, get these people, and we just, things slid and things went away. And, then I reached out to him and I didn't hear back, and I go, always busy, because he always traveled. That's kind of what he was known for. He just traveled, he traveled a lot with his job, and he was very influential with his job. When he worked contract work, and when he'd walk into a place that he had a contract and he was a consultant, people were fearful of him, because when he was brought in, the company that brought him in gave him carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. So nobody knew who was going to get fired. Nobody knew who was going to stay. And sometimes he went in and fired whole departments, and this is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. Hey, Devin, I see you're out there. I know, Jason, you're out there. And I don't know if he ever, he had lots of things to do, but he stayed busy. Gorgeous shop, little home office, kind of something you aspire to. When he finally decided he wanted a Porsche, he made himself put him in a position to buy a Porsche. And then he had two of them, and he was a great guy, and it really, really caught me off guard. And what really bothered me is, I didn't keep that communication going. It's kind of like doing this podcast for you guys out there. Is Derek and I try to be here every week for you. Every now and then we have to miss. I know we missed last week, but both of us, I was exhausted from traveling. Derek was beginning to travel. Then he got swallowed up by work over the weekend, and, he couldn't get any videos to us, and he has a job. And, fortunately, the girlfriend I have now has gotten me slowing down. And, part of last weekend is, I had a horrible day at work that day, and I've never needed a vacation so much in my life. And the following day, her and I took off for a cabin that we have access to, or she has access to anytime we want. Anytime we want, we can cruise off to the hill or the mountains of North Carolina and get away from it all. And fortunately, she's made me take a couple of vacations this year. I've never taken a vacation before. And, really taken a vacation. It's always been workcations, which I just was reading about today. And that's how most people take vacations now. They tie it into something with work. And I got to get to a point where I'm not so busy. I'm balls to the wall all the time, trying to get these podcasts done, trying to, get my day job. And I don't have any time to enjoy things. Even the stuff that I get to enjoy, I don't get to enjoy because of that. And I know we're not talking a lot about cars. Like I said, you can use this if there's a car out there you want, or if there's a show you want, or if you want to do a podcast and talk about cars. Hell, reach out to me. I'll help you start a podcast. We're looking, we want to get somebody on the podcast in a younger age demographic, because I've learned, even though I'm 50 and Derek's 40-ish, we need somebody on here who's 20 or 25. And I always said, I would love to have a 20-year-old female on here. It sounds great. Sounds all old man perverse, but we get a whole different sex discussion about cars, what a woman's thinking about it, what their point of view is. And we find out what the new generation's thinking. I was just listening to CarCast on my way home today, and they were talking about how do you get kids, Adam Carolla's son is not into cars. Adam's one of the biggest car guys in the world, but his son's not into cars. And how do you get kids interested in cars? Or why aren't they? And, we've had many shows about that and discussed, they're interested in different ways. I don't know what your pronouns are, though, Jason. So that Jason's offering to, he's identifying as a 25-year-old. Now, if he's identifying as a 25-year-old girl, we're probably going to have to talk to one of our other listeners about that. But, that's why I want to get that younger demographic. It's, little things trigger in my head now and then, just casually. I have a Amazon device next to me sitting on my desk here. And I was watching, like I've said, the new 21 Jump Street movie that, whatever. They roll into the parking lot with a car most of us would have killed for, Derek or me and our age group, gas guzzler, big supercharged, blown, whatever it was, Camaro, Chevelle, Nova, I can't remember. And they were acting like all hot shit. And then, they walk up and they say something to the, some of the jocks and they go, "Oh, you mean that gas guzzler? Don't you care about the environment?" And wait a second, that's something we don't think about. Brad Fanshaw was just talking on his podcast recently about, is the aftermarket going to go away with electric cars? Are electric cars going to get us contained that we're not going to modify them anymore? Or what do we modify? Now, I think there's a little limit to what Brad was talking about, because I've heard interviews recently with people that are modifying Teslas. You can't put bigger motors in them, but you can upgrade the suspensions and you change the tires and you can actually tweak the aero and make them a little bit better. And, there's things you can do to them to make them more fun and more enjoyable. And then there's aftermarket battery companies coming out where they're working with the manufacturers. So it shouldn't void your warranty, that you could, go out and buy your new electric Corolla, saying that because I don't think it exists yet, and take the Toyota batteries out and put in these high performance battery packs that might be a little bit lighter or might give you a little bit more range. And have them backed by the manufacturer. It's kind of, it might cost you a little bit more. Battery packs aren't inexpensive, but shit, a Liberty Walk body kit's 25, 30 grand. So what's 20 grand in batteries? And of course, I'm assuming you're going to sell your Toyota battery pack. So, I don't know. This is kind of a rambling one tonight, but I just needed to come on and kind of say that we were sorry for missing last night. And, Derek with his family and that, there's no way he's going to make a Friday night broadcast. But if you do know somebody, and preferably, we're not going to discount you if you identify as a 25-year-old and that, but you're going to have to bring some of that 25-year-old mentality to the table. But if you know somebody, honestly, I'm starting to go through LinkedIn, looking at some of the friend suggestions that I'm getting, and saying, wait a second, some of these people are really qualified. Maybe they would want to step up and really, help with the podcast. And if you have ideas for the podcast, what we could do to make it better, do Thursday nights not work for you? Let us know. To be honest, I'm thinking about taking the live stream off. The live stream, I think, hurts our audio side of the podcast. And maybe if you want to see this video and see the live stream recording, it's going to be a level of our Patreon. Tell me how you feel about that. Tell me if you think it stinks. A lot of ums and ahs and crutch words tonight, but I'm still, still a little distracted by about what was going on. And, kind of looking forward to having a, beer or, saying, hey, buddy, when we all getting together at your garage, used to do that all the time, go out and, I would have Mountain Dew, people would drink, and we'd have service managers from local car dealerships and other car guys and members of various car clubs, because this guy was into everything. Model A's, MGAs, motorcycle rides every Sunday. Like I said, Porsches, drove a pickup truck. I mean, it's just a very interesting, thing. But simply put, let's not put things off anymore. If you have a question, send it to us. We'll talk about anything. But as the one thing, here behind me says, I can't remember what the one says, where'd my head go? I got to figure out which way to move my head away from the microphone here. Do it now, and don't wait for the perfect moment. Take this moment and make it perfect. So, and I've been thinking about that recently because I want to get a different car for my job, and I kind of want it to be practical, but I kind of want it to be fun. And how do I make it work? And there's a couple, I'm trying to figure out how to make that opportunity to make a perfect moment. And sometimes it doesn't happen. The ideas don't happen overnight, but they do happen. It was a short one tonight, guys. I don't know if you've got any comments or want to come on and say anything, but I'm probably going to wrap this one up, 20 minutes. I could dwell, and I could jump into some of this stuff, but next week we'll be back on the regular schedule. Should be Thursday night. Unfortunately, I got to do phone tonight and the data's transferring. And let's see, I do have a calendar in front of me, and I travel a lot next week, but I will be back. We will be broadcasting Thursday night, whether it's just me, whether it's Derek, maybe we're trying out a new co-host. No Driving Gloves, nodrivinggloves.com, Patreon, buy us a coffee. Let's see, I'd have a hard time reading and talking and thinking about it with doing everything I hear on my own. I would probably, it's not 100% just making a decision and taking a leap, Jason, but leaving barbers, well, joining barbers in the first place I was down in Huntsville on a job working for the conservation company up there. I was the foreman on the Saturn V rocket restoration for our sections of it. And for some reason, it crossed my mind that, hey, I saw in a magazine that the largest lotus collection, or there's a large lotus collection in a museum in Birmingham. And the painter on site kept talking about Birmingham. I had no clue where Birmingham was in relation to Huntsville. And then I learned that, it's only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. I'm going to go down there and, see the museum. And I drove down on a Saturday, one of the weekends that I was here, and ended up touring the museum and said, damn, this would be a good place to work. Sent a resume that night. And here's exactly making the perfect moment. Don't wait. Do it now. In their Tuesday meeting, I went down on a Saturday, sent a resume, landed on the librarian's desk Monday morning. In the Tuesday meeting, Mr. Barber said, we need to expand the restoration department. We need to probably start looking for, additional staff. And the librarian chimed in. She goes, I just got a resume from a guy, and he's in Lotus, and they passed it on. And Thursday, I'm interviewing for the job. And that was late October. And it was offered to me in December, and January 17th, 19th, something like that, I was moving to Birmingham. It's not an overnight leap, but it was a leap. I left everything behind in DC, everything that I couldn't fit in my 26-foot long U-Haul with a trailer with my CRX full of stuff that I ended up being about 10,000 pounds overweight when I went through the weigh station. And I've never been through a weigh station before. The number just came up and I go, I might be overweight. I don't know what to do. Shit, I'm going to leave. I'm a citizen and I'm not a truck driver. And this little cop car pulled up to me maybe 3 miles down the road, and he looked at me and he looked at my door and he looked at me and he looked at my door, and he just kind of drifted off and took the next turnaround. So I think I did break the law, but I think they realized I was just a stupid citizen who didn't realize what was going on. So, I kind of left everything behind and jumped and came here. And then when I left Barbers, I was in the mood to leave, and I was being precautious. But we had a review in December, and they told me what was going on. And I kind of told them, well, if that's what's going to happen, I'm not going to be here, so don't count on me. I will be gone by July. And they thought about it for a while, and we sat down in January and parted ways. Worked out really good for me for a while. The first endeavor at a business got shut down by COVID. The podcasting thing, I keep treading water on, but I've had to reassume a day job to make sure my money lasts a little bit longer. But those are a couple things that I've took a leap on. A lot of my car purchases, Jason, are taking a leap. I bought the Mini. Didn't need the Mini. No reason to have the Mini. Was not practical for my lifestyle at the time. A Fusion actually was a better car. And I, looked at it and was basically going to walk away from it. And then the guy said, why don't you take it home, for a couple hours? So I took it home. And in that 2 hours that I had it, I got to play with it on the way home, drove home, sat down, went upstairs, Googled a whole bunch of stuff about it, went down and tried a few things, went back, and somewhere during there, they called and said, this is what we're going to give you for trade. And it was exactly to the dollar, the number I wanted. And I drove back and bought the Mini. And what has that done? It's got me back into cars. Didn't know it was going to happen. it's made cars fun again. We had the last episode Derek and I had was falling out of love with cars. It brought it back for me. Made it fun. My girlfriend jokes that that's one of the reasons she responded to my profile is I had a picture of my car, I guess, as Facebook. We met through Facebook dating. So my profile had the Mini in it or something like that. And, she took the chance and, well, who knows what she got, but she seems to still like me. So, there's a couple of things I've always, yeah, no, I didn't fall for the drive at home, take it for the drive. But I'm damn glad he let me do it, because if he did it, I would have never bought the car. I was ready to walk away from it right then. And, basically that was probably within the next 5 sentences out of my mouth is, now I don't think I'm going to get it, when he preemptively suggested I take it home. And I just became comfortable with it and the tech. And it was the tech in the car, because for some reason Mini's behind on tech. It's like a Ferrari, even the brand new Ferrari 296 has wired Apple CarPlay, does not have wireless Apple CarPlay. And they at least give you a CarPlay standard now, but it's probably that $4,000 options probably included somewhere in the price tag. But Jason's talking about enjoying barbers in the Turn 9 Club, and that was a risk Jennifer proposed years ago. Talk about somebody else. Barbers is a very traditional place with not a lot of, things don't happen quickly. And she came up with that idea and knocked it out of the park, to the point it's too successful. So a car that I haven't bought that I would like to. One I've had an opportunity to buy, or one that's just on my bucket list of cars to own. Bucket list of cars to own. I'd love a convertible CRX. There's only 20 or 30 in the world. They're not factory, the Strawman conversions. I do, and I said it earlier, I do have a thing for C3 Corvettes, keeping kind of realistic. Something I need to take a leap on realistically, maybe just a bit out of your reach. Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking on the kind of work car. I was looking at, I clicked on it today, was a an 04 Carrera. It's $29,000, and that's more than I really want to spend. But not saying that if I could find a Boxster for 15 or 20 again, I would pass it up. To be honest, thought about a second Mini. What else is just beyond my reach that I might want? C5 Corvette. They're not, I'm only looking 30,000. I'm saying 30,000 would be a stretch. Possibly could be done, but would be a stretch. More people would contribute to that Patreon or buy me a few more cups of coffee. That'd be a different thing. But I think I've decided I'd like to have a Porsche again. For a while there, it was the Lotus Elise, and that's how I got my Caterham 7. My ex-wife and I went and looked at a Lotus on a lease back in 04 when they were kind of new, but this was a used one, and I drove it, and she knew I was going to buy it that day. No question in her mind that we were going home with that car. That's what she told me afterwards when we're driving home. And she goes, I can't believe you didn't buy it. I said, if I was going to buy a car like that, I got out and said to the salesman, if I'm going to buy something that drives like this, I'm going to buy a Caterham or a Lotus 7. same money. And it might have been a wrong decision, but 2 weeks later, there's a take a leap one for you, Jason. Will's had a all-wheel drive Eagle Talon there, Jason. About 2 weeks after doing that with the Elise, I got an email from my ex-wife that said, "Hey, here's your trailer." And it was a 6x12 like Home Depot enclosed trailer. It came with a Caterham 7. And my response email to her about 2 hours later was, "I'm flying down there on Thursday." And she emailed back, "What?" And I said, "I'm going to go look at that." She said, "What?" And this is Tuesday we're talking. 2 days later, I'm on an airplane flying to Fort Lauderdale, Florida from DC to go look at the Caterham. And I bought it. And then because I bought it, I had to sell the pickup truck I was driving, which was a lowered S10. And I bought a Dodge Dakota 4x4 so I could pull the trailer back, because it would logistically was almost impossible to get a trailer shipped with a car in it. So I bought a truck, got rid of a truck, bought it. And I also got a Lotus Europa that month. It was a very expensive October, but that was something that Monday, I had no idea I would own a Caterham 7 by the end of the week, or quote my trailer. By Friday, I did. And to be honest, the whole time I owned the car, never regretted doing that once. So there's a really good idea of made the moment perfect. She never sent me any more emails about things that I had wanted for a while. But that's the sum of the show. That's the advice I'm giving you tonight. I'm sure if Derek could have made it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment, make it perfect. With that, I'm going to check out for the night. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll be talking about, I don't know. I really want to say the fraud or the misinformation that shops are giving people in this day and age. I can't believe this kind of bullshit's still going on, and how expensive this misinformation is to the consumer, and how ungodly profitable it is for the businesses. And I'm not talking the little shops in backwoods, whatever. I'm talking major dealerships, reputable places. But if you pay attention, they're finding $1 or $2. So with that, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Thanks for the compliment there, Jason, again. We're trying to make it better. Excuse me, I'm sorry. There's me making it better. Maybe we should have you back on as a guest. It was wonderful having you on the show a few months ago. But that's it for tonight. Thursday, we're going to talk bad about some people. Maybe we'll say some names. Good night.